Hi, I'm Greg Howlett. I want to take a few minutes and talk to you about my course on modulations. Now, everywhere I go around the country doing piano workshops, this is a topic that comes up. Every pianist seems to want to know about modulations, and they are very useful. They're useful in preludes, they're useful in offertories, they're useful if you go to one of those churches where your music director has started packaging music together. Of course, those songs aren't always in the same key, so modulations are very, very important. This course will give you all you need to know. As a matter of fact, I go through 5 different approaches for modulations. The first one is the universal formula, what I call the universal formula, and that just means it's a formula that will work between any 2 keys. Pull 2 keys out of a hat, and this formula will get you between those 2 keys. But then we talk about some more specific formulas, such as moving down a fifth, moving up a half step. All of us have to do that, right? When we're accompanying, we often find ourselves coming up a half step for the last verse or last chorus. We talk about one formula that I really, really like, which doesn't even use harmony at all. It's a very, very simple one. I call it the just do it modulation. And then we talk about one really advanced topic called pivot chords. Now, I'll talk about that more in a second, but that's the last modulation strategy that we talk about in this course. I want to show you a few clips from the course. This first clip deals with something that's very important in regards to modulations, because here's the reality. Just understanding a chord or a progression of chords that will get you between 2 keys is not enough. Modulations have to sound like they belong there. They have to match the song. They have to belong stylistically to the song. So this is a clip where I discuss that very, very important concept about modulations. You got to take your time through there. Don't play these chords big because, again, you're trying to match the style. So even when you do play a few big chords, make sure you're playing chords in a way that matches the style. Here it is again. Okay, so that works pretty well. Now let's move on to another one. First of all, the takeaway here is when you come up with a mod, make sure that you're using stylistically the same kind of devices. Make sure that you're stylistically matching either where you're coming or where you're going to. Now remember, in a lot of cases, you are changing, right? I mean, you're coming from one style, moving to another style, and that's okay. If you find yourself in a situation where you are coming from another style, changing styles, pick one of the styles, or maybe use both styles in the mod and sort of use the mod as a bridge between 2 styles. Next example, bottom of page 4. Now here is a mod that is going to use the melody. Now this is something that's helpful too, not always possible, but if you can find a way to use the melody in the mod, it sort of helps tie everything together. All right, let's go back and talk about a concept that I just brought up called pivot chords. Remember, I said pivot chords is an advanced strategy, and it is advanced, but I wanted to put it on here because it's such an interesting concept, and some of you will use this. Now, here's the main thing behind, or the main idea behind a pivot chord. A pivot chord is a chord that exists in 2 different keys. For example, D minor is the 2 chord in the key of C, but it's also the 3 chord in the key of B flat. See that? There's many chords that exist in multiple keys. So here's the concept of playing a pivot chord modulation. You play in the old key till you get to the pivot chord. Once you get in the new, once you get to the pivot chord, you pretend like you're in the new key, and you use functional harmony to move to the 1 chord in the new key. A little bit hard to explain here, but I want to show you a clip that sort of walks you through at least one example of that process. Removing the E from this mod helped out dramatically because now we're not moving around at all. We go straight to A minor, moving to G over 8, A7. That's the same chord, essentially played 3 varieties of the same chord. It's an A chord. This is really, of course, we call this a suspended dominant. So that's really, we could call this A sus. That's what a 4 over 5 is. So we're playing A minor, A sus, A7 going to D, which is a great sound. Here it is again. It's hard for me to stop playing sometimes. I like playing, and but I don't need to show you all that. We're just talking about the mod. All right, so that's an example of a way to smooth out the universal formula. Look for chords that you can leave out that'll help. Now, sometimes you just don't have enough time to play 6 chords. Sometimes it has nothing to do with this kind of movement. Sometimes it just has to do with the fact that you don't have a lot of time. And in those cases, you can leave out more chords. Let's play with it, okay? This case, let's try to leave out the 6 and just see how that sounds. So we're going to play C, E minor, G over A, A7, and then D. Okay, everybody understand what I'm doing? I'm leaving out this chord right here. Okay, that's the 6th chord in the old key, and I'm going straight to the 2 chord in the new key. Listen how this sounds. Okay, that's also a very, very, very nice sound, and I need to show you why. Okay, it all has to do, again, with functional harmony. Leaving out a chord actually helps this. Leaving out that chord improves this as well. Here's why. The movement from the old key to the new key now is happening right here. Okay, we left out the 6, so we're moving directly from the 1 in the old key to the 2 in the new key, which is E minor. Here's the neat thing about this now. E minor is the 3 chord in the old key, and it's the 2 chord in the new key. And it's very natural for the 1 chord in the old key to move to the 3 chord in the old key. So this is a movement that sounds good even though you're moving to a new key. Okay? This is what we call a pivot chord. It's a chord that exists in 2 different keys. It's the 3 chord, the minor 3 in the old key. It's the minor 2 in the new key. So it's a great chord to go right to here. Okay? Now we can get a lot more involved in that, and we will toward the end of the class. All right, so that was a little complicated. Some of you are thinking that's very complicated, and I know it is. It can be very, very complicated, but very interesting. But here's the thing. If you never use pivot chords, you'll still find way more than enough material in this course to get you through decades of playing the piano in your church. You don't have to get horribly advanced. You just need the universal formula and a few other little shortcuts. And this course will really help you get to the point where you're very comfortable modulating in pretty much any situation.